already feeling like this. It was a fun 2 days. The Leafs defense is already in crisis. We're already talking about trading the goalie. They lost the game with a complete lack of effort, and everybody is miserable. Get to your point. This is easily the most normal I've felt since March. Give me a hug. Hey, distance, let's go! Why not? The Toronto Maple Leafs! I guess my brand is a yell and scream. I don't script these. Are the Leafs alright? So what you get is from the heart. Welcome to LFR. Leafs lose 5-3 to the Ottawa Senators. Boo! I was talking about this last night. The Leafs have one just absolutely mentally scarring loss during the first 3 games of every single season that follows them around for the rest of the season, where you just don't feel safe with this team at all. In 16-17, the Leafs were up 4-0 on the Winnipeg Jets, Patrick Laine getting the 5-4 overtime winning hat trick. The next season, the Leafs were up 5-1 on the New York Rangers before blowing another 4-goal lead, but this time in the home opener, they still somehow managed to win that game, but scars! 2018-19, that 7-6 overtime carnival against the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, the Leafs won, but you got the impression that no lead was ever safe. Matthews scores with like 90 seconds and goes, yeah! And the Leafs surrendered the lead in -2 seconds. Last season, the Leafs are up 4-1 on the Montreal Canadiens. They blow that lead. They somehow force overtime and lose in the shootout. But I have great news for you, Leaf fans. Last night was not that. Last night, the Leafs were not the ridiculous, cartoony, absurd type of bad. They were just regular, mundane, depressingly awful bad. You have a $7 billion offense, you were down 2 goals heading into the third, and you only got 4 shots? Preseason, the Leafs were talking about winning habits. What you gotta do in order to win. Well, save the tape of this game because this is exactly textbook. They should sell it on campus for $250. How you lose? No, come on, man. They're not going to win all 56 games. No, and if you only get 4 shots in the third period of a game you're losing, you're not going to win any. For any Leaf fan that's just flat out miserable right now, let me at least point out one thing that will make you feel better. This is not a paid advertisement. It's just something I believe in. It's called Leafs Money on the Board. Basically, you just pledge money to charity based on things that happen in the game. So last night, I had $1 on every Leaf shot, Leaf save, and $5 on every Leaf goal. And that ended up being $57 towards Canadian Blood Services. You can do this on a game-by-game basis, or you can just pledge, like, I'm going to donate X amount of money for every Wayne Simmons goal for this entire season. It's obviously for a good cause. You're helping people, and that's great. But last night I found it also helped myself. Like, there's a weak wrister from the point. Oh, there's $1. Let's go. To find out more, go to MOTB Leafs on Twitter. That's money on the board. So now let's talk about this game goal by goal. I really don't think it's going to be that hard. The beginning of this game, like the first 15 minutes or so, like I legitimately felt bad. Because we've been talking about the Sens on and off on the podcast, and because it's the all-Canadian division and it just feels like there's a magic surrounding the division where anything can happen, it wouldn't be impossible for the Sens to make the playoffs. But we've had a bunch of people on the podcast, and Ian Mendez, who covers the Sens, was on, and he's like, this is going to be tough. And I'm watching the first 15 minutes of the game like, oh, so they're bad. They don't look like they can skate with the Leafs. They don't look like they can contain them. And all of a sudden, they're in penalty trouble, and the Leafs are on the power play. On that power play, Nylander, who's on the Leafs' second power play unit, passes it to Tavares, who's on the Leafs' second power play unit. Nice little stutter there. Shoots it on, stopped, puck in the air. Zach Hyman bats it in, dad strength, and it's 1-0 Leafs. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, Zach Hyman joined the Dads Club. He had a little boy named Theo the other day, and it's a beautiful thing. They reviewed it for a high stick. They said the call on the ice stands, and it's a goal. And look, on Twitter, I don't mind the chirps during the game. It's hockey, that's going to happen. Here's what you should not do. I had more than one person send me a screenshot of, here is the line of the crossbar, and here is where Hyman's stick was. And the line that they drew is like this, and the crossbar is like this. Please do not draw a flat line in crayon and then send it to me like you're submitting evidence to the FBI. What, do you think his stick was high? I don't know. I thought it might be. I know a guy who had a pretty good look at it, though. And then they reviewed it and they still called it a goal, so I don't know. Okay, listen, I understand wanting the game to be fair. Of course you should want the game to be fair. Here's what I want to do as a hockey fan. Celebrate goals! I am tired, I'm exhausted of the puck going into the net, the most exciting thing in the sport, whereas a fan I get to go, yeah, my team scored, and the play is under review. And it might be a high stick, and it might be interference, and there might have been an offside 5 seconds ago, or 30. I know this isn't a problem that's unique to hockey, but for the love of Brett Hull's toe, as a sports fan, I need to be able to celebrate goals when they happen. Andrew Shaw had an overtime winner disallowed in the playoffs because he butted it in with his own head, and when I complained about that, people were like, well, that's not safe. Last game, Shea Weber gave Austin Matthews a free trip to the chiropractor, uncalled, and you're gonna tell me that's unsafe. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, the Leafs have a 1-0 lead. Then, later in the period, Joe Thornton takes a high sticking call on Thomas Chabot. I think it was an accident, but Chabot didn't even have a stick. And then the Leafs take a too many men on the ice penalty, and I gotta say, I had it wrong last night on Twitter. Well, at very least half wrong, because I was blaming that on Kerfoot, who, at the beginning of last season, struggled mightily in the penalty department. He could not stay out of the box. And he jumps on the ice way too early, but he did that because the Leafs were in danger, and they needed a line change, and Zach Hyman was coming off for the line change, and frankly, he was coming off kind of slow. And I'm not going to tear into him because how often do you ever say that? But the bench minors were a huge problem under Mike Babcock, and now it's 2-2 games. They haven't gone away, and the Sens have a golden opportunity. And with that opportunity, Drake Batherson over to Thomas Chabot, who's wide open, because of course he's wide open. It's a 5-on-3. Bang, he beats Freddie Anderson, and the Leafs, who were the better team that entire period, now go to the second period with another tie game. But that's ridiculous. How is it tied? We were the better team, and we did this, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that. Yeah, how'd you end the period? You took 2 penalties, and that's it. It's hockey, and that's all it takes. Losing habits. The Leafs have them. So, in the second period, Zach Hyman gets the first goal. Him and Kerfoot have a mix-up that sort of leads to the second goal. How are they going to make up for it? About halfway through the frame, this line, Hyman, Kerfoot, and Mikheyev, inspired performance. Mikheyev firing it on. Hyman, puck to Kerfoot in the high slot. I'm surprised he even shot it, but it worked. I think he got a deflection in there somewhere, but Alexander Kerfoot getting on the board and Zach Hyman being a nightmare for the Sens in front of the net. The Leafs regain the lead. In their first game against the Montreal Canadiens, the Leafs actually never led the game. The only time they had the lead is when they scored the overtime winner, which I thought was a brilliant strategy because when the Leafs have the lead is when they're at their worst. And they very forgot that in this game. So not long after they get the lead, TJ Brodie loses his glove and he's putting it on a little casually. Brady Tkachuk, not so casual about anything in front of the net. Nikita Zaitsev puts it on. Tkachuk is able to tip it in because Brodie just got there. It's a tie game. A couple minutes later, Riley's out on the ice, not with Brodie, it's with Bogosian this time. Riley's in a battle with Nick Paul. The ref is in the way. Spets is there in support, and somehow Paul comes out with it. The Sens get it to a wide open Austin Watson, and last game Bogosian got a lot of grief, but on this play, Leafs, what on earth is this? Seriously, all 5 Leaf skaters are in this picture, and somehow 4 Sens are able to surround Zach Bogosian like he's a god they worship. Off the bar and in, the Sens get the lead. It's 3-2, and that was the first goal where I was like, okay, the first goal, 5-on-3. That you're not exactly putting your goalie in a position to win. Second goal, that's a tip. It's difficult to put a tip on a goalie. Third goal, I'm like, okay, the defense is bad. It's well documented. We need one man. Not long after, it's another fire drill in the Leaf zone. Nikita Zaitsev puts it on. It's partially blocked. There's a loose puck in front, and once again, the Leafs aren't the ones who get it. Chris Tierney puts it in, and all right, we need a save, man. Every shot on goal is a defensive breakdown of some sort, and all of a sudden, the Leafs have given up 3 goals and 2 Nikita Zaitsev assists in less than 5 minutes! And they go to second intermission feeling bad about themselves, and frankly, good. And it's not ideal, but you overcame a 2-goal deficit against the Montreal Canadiens. Let's see if you can do it in this one. And then a few minutes into the third, Brodie with a soft pass behind the net, and I honestly, was that supposed to go to Riley at the speed of smell? And once again, defensively, they're in shambles, and Freddie looks like he has no idea what to do. Listen, it's difficult to put everything together, especially at the beginning of the season. You can have a struggling defense if you have a performing goalie. You can have a struggling goalie if you have a performing defense. If you have neither, you're screwed! And I saw that goal go in and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's no shot then. Leafs get a power play a little bit later in the period. John Tavares scores with a snipe. The box score reads John Tavares unassisted, and I'm like, in more ways than one there, box score! And the Leafs, who were down 3, only got 1 back because they had 4 shots in the third! What? Don't hit me me with that, it's early stuff. They had 7 shots in the third against the Carolina Hurricanes and David Ayers. And they have fired the coach and changed the coach and made large personnel changes up front and made large personnel changes on defense. What do you want? What's the problem? What's the problem there, boys? And I will tell you part of the problem, because we were breaking this game down goal by goal. You'll notice I never mentioned Matthews, Marner, Thornton once. In the first game against Montreal, I didn't love how it looked, but they were sniffing. I could see how it would work. This one, whoa, that line's struggling, man. I think Thornton did have the one chance, but there were a lot of shifts where you could tell he's still trying to figure out. He's still trying to find his purpose on that line. Matthews, who didn't score in the first game, but looked very good, wasn't able to do anything in this one, and somehow Mitch Marner was able to do even less. In 24 minutes of ice time, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, -1, 0 penalty minutes, 0 shots on goal, 0 hits, 0 blocks, 0 giveaways, 0 takeaways, 100% in the face-off circle, look at you go! And about 4.5 minutes on the power play. And listen, every player in the NHL is going to have their off games. All of them, every one of them. But when you make no off-game money, which 2 of the 3 members of this line do, you cannot have an off game. If 2 different guys in your team make no off-game money, and they're on the same line, and the whole line's off, you don't have a shot of winning. So at the time I'm shooting this video, I see a lot of people yelling and screaming, change this line, change that. That line's at the forefront of it. Oh, we got to get Thornton off that line. I didn't see Thornton really as the problem. And that's one of those things where I will say it's early. Let it try to figure itself out, but flag it, for sure. Absolutely flag it as something that does not look like it's working yet. But now the story I can't wait to watch. The Leafs, second half of a back-to-back in Ottawa. Jack Campbell starting in net. I think you know where I'm going. If he looks great and the Leafs win, it's going to be a carnival. If he looks terrible and the Leafs lose, it's going to be a carnival. It's a guaranteed carnival. Somehow I think the crankiest possible option is Campbell plays great, but the Leafs still lose. That way you can just be cranky about everything. But how about let's cross that bridge when we get there? Questions. Anthony Petrelli tweeting, second straight game, Joe Thornton has more ice time than John Tavares after 2 periods, and Juno of the Leafs says, let's be honest, we would be absolutely roasting Mike Babcock for this, rightfully so. This is nothing against Joe Thornton. It's not even criticizing Joe Thornton being on the first line. You gotta find a way to get John Tavares more ice than that. You do. There are so many nights where the Leafs look terrible, and he tries his darndest to drag them kicking and screaming through the fight. Talk about winning habits. Play your captain. From Braden Engel. Why was I excited for more of this? Because you finished Tiger King like 8 months ago and you're already done Bridgerton? How much do you think people are overreacting to Anderson right now? We're not. We're not at all. Like, the Anderson being bad at the beginning of the season thing is a thing. He's been here long enough that we know it's a thing. And we used to call it October Freddy, and it's January, and it's still October. The time doesn't matter. He badly wants to be the guy, even though he's gotten help. And, like, let's just say this. If Jack Campbell plays great and wins, that's his job. That's Jack Campbell's job, to win. Even though he's the backup, it's still his job to win. But no, Frederik Andersen is the Leafs' #1 guy. He's wanted to be the #1 guy. He insisted on playing back-to-back games at one point last season. It's a contract year for him. We're trying to evaluate not just whether or not he should get a big contract going forward. We're trying to reevaluate whether or not he should be the Leafs on the Leafs. We've got 56 games and he's not going to play in all of them, so we have even less to decide whether or not Frederik Andersen is going to be a Leaf going forward. So forgive me for overreacting. Is now the time to call up Martin Marincin? Get out. So, well, can't wait to do that again. Immediately, right away. That is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. MOTB Leafs on Twitter. Money on the board. Listen, this team is ridiculous. You might as well have a little fun, right?